and welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Business Roundup with me, your host, Wadulo Mark Arnold, the show that brings you those business stories trending locally, regionally, and internationally. We're glad you're tuned in, and these are the highlights tonight. NSSF commissions the first phase of its housing project. Nile Basin countries discuss sustainable management of the natural resource. And on the regional scene, we take a look at how to address inflation in Africa. These and more, stay tuned, it's time for business. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni commissioned the first phase of the NSSF housing project in Lubowa, a Kampala suburb. The first phase of the Solana lifestyle and residences cost $73 million to set up. According to NSSF, the units are going for a price of $150,000 to $800,000 targeting high-end customers.
The first phase of the National Social Security Fund housing project in Lubowa, a Kampala suburb, has been commissioned by the President Yoweri Museveni. The entire project, which will cost a whopping $400 million to develop, sits on 600 acres of land.
Even the fraudsters, these who come and tell lies and so on, we can amend laws and ensure that the project goes on. Even if somebody is claiming, you can continue claiming while the project is going on, instead of because this issue of the bank, what they call it what? Injunction. Injunction, stop. That's very disruptive. If you have got a case, let me continue with my project. If you win in the future, I can compensate you when the project is already finished.
According to NSSF, Solana Lifestyle and Residences in Lubowa is about reshaping the future of housing in Uganda. Decent housing has over the years become an integral part in the development of Uganda, and it's a matter of national concern.
I believe that what we have here is the answer to all the problems that this country has ever had with regard to housing. Please pay attention to the screen that's near you, because there are some very interesting numbers. One of the things that today we see is that the population of Uganda, since 1986, the migration from the rural areas to the urban areas has been more than 10 times. In 1986, the population in the urban areas was only 1.3 million people. Today there is about 13 million people. The graph that's more interesting is not the increase as a total of the population, but it is the annual growth. You'll see that there was a significant increase towards the 90s. That number has flattened, but towards 2015, those numbers have begun to go up, which really is around the march to the value that over 50% of Ugandans by 2050 will actually be living in cities. Which brings me to the implications. The implications is that if a half of the population will be urbanized by the year 2050, it means that their economic trajectory is very important, but then housing becomes an integral part of developing our nation. That's why we believe that the matter of housing should really be paid attention to.
This launch comes at a time when the city of Kampala and other secondary cities are grappling with the shortage of decent and affordable housing.
Your Excellency, we've also learned one thing, and that is to be resourceful and to be ingenious as much as we can. All the adversities that we are confronting in development of these projects, we are confronting them through negotiation. We are confronting them through constructive dialogue. We are allowing each other to listen and also to be able to respect each other and solve these issues the best way we can.
You know how NRM, Your Excellency, we solved challenges. We have solved much more intricate and difficult challenges. The challenges, Richard, you have mentioned, we shall also have a solution for them.
Communal features of this real estate project include a clubhouse with a swimming pool, kids' play area, specialized lounge, organized living, security and spacious parking, among others. The entire project of 250 housing units has a 10-year completion timeframe.
In 1999, 10 Nile Basin countries agreed to collectively provide a forum for sustainable management and development of the shared Nile Basin water. The Nile Basin Initiative has a number of achievements that have benefited member states. Let's take a look at this report.
In 1999, 10 Nile Basin countries agreed to collectively provide a forum for sustainable management and development of the shared Nile Basin water. The Nile Basin Initiative has a number of achievements that have benefited member states. Ethiopia is hosting the first regional conference on the equitable and reasonable utilization of the Nile Basin water resource. The conference was officially opened by the Ethiopia's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs, Demek Mekonnen, who said that national issues affect the sustainable use of the water resource.
We just reject undue politicization of the GERD. The dam does not entail any significant harm to any riparian country. We remain engaged in the effort to arrive at guidelines on the first filling and annual operation of the dam under the auspices of the African Union.
In 2011, Ethiopia, on its course to utilize the Nile water on its territory, embarked on the construction of the Great Ethiopia Renaissance Dam worth $5 billion. The initiative met resistance from Egypt, which claimed the development would reduce water supply. Ethiopian authorities say the project has faced hindrances on financing due to the allegations labeled against the development of the dam.
But over the last 2-3 years, Egypt has undertaken aggressive diplomatic campaign against the dam, and in violation of the 2015 DOP Declaration on Principles.
Negotiations to have a common solution to the challenge have always hit a snag. Stakeholders appeal for each member state contribution to support efforts that give a solution.
Decided on their interests, no. The use of the Nile water should be based on mutual benefits of the governments around the River Nile. That's my message. There, if you think that you can use war as an option, believe me, war will never benefit you, and war is not an option that we are thinking about.
It's not ready to resolve the problem on the principle of equitable and reasonable utilization of the common water resources. The water is common water property. It should be equitably and reasonably at least addressed.
Reliable information puts the status of the international law giving way to Ethiopia to utilize the Nile water within its territory for any development for a common good. Meanwhile, Egypt has not been represented at the Addis Ababa conference.
That this is a problem which belongs to the African Union. Whether you look at it from the point of view of the Constitutive Act, or you look at it from the point of view of the policy decisions of the AU.
Integrating Ethiopia into the East African community was also raised in the Addis Ababa Symposium, which attracted over 500 participants. The leaders under the Nile Basin Initiative recognized the rapid increase in the African population, and it becomes imperative to utilize the Nile water to serve member states. Access to clean water and electricity, water bank for severe drought, and reduction of flood risks are some of the interventions for discussion.
Because time is right, and perhaps this is the moment and this is the time to write a new chapter over the Nile history. And the generations from today, they should look back and say that when we were confronted with a crisis, when we were confronted with economic challenges, we rose up without fear, we stood strong, and we guaranteed the future prosperity that they deserve.
Ethiopian authorities say the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is 87% complete and will address issues affecting African countries. The dam will extend cooperation based on transboundary river basin, and thus the leaders call for practical measures to promote unity.
So each of these factors will be given a weight, and then depending on the resources available in each country, population or otherwise, of, considering the 9 factors, scores will be given to arrive at a multiplying constant of the existing water in the Nile Basin.
The African Union has been tipped to support developments on the Nile Basin.
To ensure that countries on the Nile Basin have legitimate rights on the use of Nile River waters, Ethiopia and Egypt have been urged to recommit to reaching an amicable solution for purpose of achieving long-term peace and security in Africa.
The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam covers 246 kilometers of the Nile River and will add about 19% to Africa's energy growth annually. Daniel Mugoya, Dan Lugemwa, UBC News.
A Chinese delegation from Eastern Industrial Zone in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, are eyeing Uganda for investment. By establishing business in Uganda, the companies are confident of accelerating processes of industrialization and job creation.
A delegation from 24 Chinese companies is in Uganda. A delegation from 24 Chinese companies is in Uganda on a fact-finding mission on the existing opportunities for investment. These companies have already set up successful enterprises in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and want to spread their wings to Uganda.
They would want to extend and expand their investment in Uganda, focusing on investment in industrial parks. So this group of 24 companies have come to explore opportunities in industrial park of Mbale to invest. And also there are another group that is going to invest in pharmaceuticals. And we have assured them of the incentives we have in terms of tax holidays, the good investment climate, and also opportunities we have in agro industrialization and mineral industrialization. And using our raw materials, it's now possible to set up soluble plant for coffee. It's possible to process our massive mineral deposits that we have, and then we make steel products, we make gold products. So they are a very, very serious group that we have met today, and they will be traveling to Mali, and we see how far they can take it.
The team had a formal discussion on issues of policy, tax and other investment incentives with David Bahati, the State Minister for Trade. Bahati assured the potential investors on Uganda's macroeconomic stability, low inflation rates, security and availability of significant raw materials that can be utilized for production of finished products for local consumption and for export.
We are in the medical field for over 20 years, and China, our national plan to build up the Belt and the road policy. Based on that policy, we were invited by Tiantang Group to come to here to investigate the marketing. My company, Shenzhen Bestman, we would like to devote our energy to improve our local medical and healthy care situation. So we visit many local hospitals, and then we found out we have a lot of work needed to do. So in the future, I hope Uganda government, Ministry of the Health, and the NDA, GMS, and MS, they all can support our project, and then we work together, win-win together.
The Chinese delegation are eyeing key sectors of the economy such as manufacturing, mining, information, communication and technology, medical and pharmaceutical industry, construction, among others. Dennis Igoa for UBC Business.
Startup Uganda is set to host the annual Innovation Week from the 22nd to the 24th of November 2022 at Mestil Hotel in Kampala. It will be themed Entrepreneurial Ecosystem Unlocking the Missing Links. The event that was formerly known as the Kampala Innovation Week will now include the participation of people from across the country under its rebranded name, Uganda Innovation Week.
The main challenges affecting Uganda's startups and emerging innovations are capital and limited knowledge about registering their businesses.
A lot of it could be because no one is registering their innovations. So what are we doing to, one, educate our young people about the importance of intellectual property and therefore registering and protecting that?
The aspects of investment, challenges of accessing financing for startups and for entrepreneurships in Uganda, challenges around women entrepreneurship, challenges around skills and linkages with academia. A lot of the government programs, they're actually solving the same challenges. It's just that the scale or the context keeps changing. So the solutions also need to change. And that's where innovation comes into play. So I think it's our obligation to find innovative ways to solve long-standing solutions, and the innovators and entrepreneurs of Uganda need to be supported to step up to that challenge.
The 2022 Uganda Innovation Week is grounded on how these innovations and creativities can break through in this fourth industrial revolution.
I think we're doing everything we can as Startup Uganda to make sure that our startups are attractive. And it's from that attraction, when the investment comes in, that we begin to see growth and other spin-offs. When we're talking about job creation, that's what we want. We want to create international companies that are birthed here.
Stakeholders are expected to find ways of tracking and explore the missing links in the already existing investments in the innovation ecosystem.
Looking for is to shed some spotlight on what those struggles actually are, and to also showcase innovation even with the limitations of literacy, and what does it look like in Kabong? What are innovations there, but also what are the missing links? And the Innovation Week helps us capture that and also celebrate what we are doing in that space.
This is the 5th Uganda Innovation Week on the theme, Uganda's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem, Unlocking the Missing Links. Abdul Nasir Lubama and Marion Awori, UBC Business.
There is fear that some of the buildings adjacent to the one that collapsed, killing one person recently in Chisenyi, a Kampala suburb, may also collapse soon. The concerned business community is appealing to the Kampala Capital City Authority to do due diligence on all construction projects in the area in order to avert more calamities. Dennis Sigoa had a report.
This CCTV footage we accessed shows a builder going on with his work at 8:33 a.m. on the 2nd of September 2022. Then all of a sudden the wall behind him started collapsing. According to police, one person died at the construction site located in Kisenyi, owned by one Haji Muhammad Katimbo. Since that fateful day, the neighbors are worried that the adjacent buildings and business premises may collapse too if no urgent action is taken by the relevant authorities.
Haji Katimbo has been building his arcade, so he had to do a dig to get to the foundation. In the process, he went beyond his boundary. He entered KCCA's path. After KCCA's path, he came all the way to our ground. He penetrated beneath. As you can see in the footage, he went beneath our foundation, and any minute, a half of this building is going to collapse.
Emebo Mbarushimana, the operations director of Mulwana J. Peter Stores in Kisenyi, attributes the increased number of arcades collapsing in Kampala city to lack of proper planning and corruption perpetrated by people with means and authority. With the situation worsening due to the heavy downpour in Kampala, the proprietors of Mulwana J. Peter Stores want Kampala Capital City Authority to halt the construction of the new arcade until their concerns are amicably addressed and safety measures implemented.
We have an issue of so-called rich people who are grabbing people's land. We have seen it happening down in the Lower Kisenyi, whereby people are being burnt, people's properties are being destroyed. And it is what is happening to us. They say first we saw them coming, we kept quiet. Now they're coming for us, we have to stand. Even with those, we stood with them, but this time, unfortunately, it is coming straight within our livelihood. These stores, you see, they have a capacity of 1,000 metric ton, which we shift less than a period of 3 months. We're no longer using these premises. We have to use our other storages. That is cost that we have to incur. Our workers are being put, they can't do anything for now. As you can see, the boys are just seated. We had to reduce the stock. All these are costs that we are incurring.
KCCA officers are urged to do due diligence for all construction works in the city and, if possible, involve the anti-corruption unit to ensure that all construction projects are executed without favorism.
On Monday, Haj Katimbo came to our premises, but we had already taken this matter in hands of the law. And we advised him to make follow-ups with his lawyers to see how we can solve this issue that we're having on ground. But his proposal came a bit late because he was talking about putting on safety measures. Safety measures are parameters that are put on before you start a heavy excavation or any type of heavy job that can put structures into danger.
In our corporate news, Toro Kingdom has received a sum of 30 million Ugandan shillings to support the coronation event of the Omukama of Toro, Oyo Nyimba Kabamba Iguru Rukidi IV, slated for the 12th of September. The financial support is based on the long-standing collaboration between the two entities that has impacted positively on the local community of Toro.
Toro Kingdom is in the final stages of preparations for the 27th anniversary Empango, slated on the 12th of September 2022. The kingdom on the same occasion will celebrate 200th anniversary of existence.
And it is coinciding with the 200th journey since the kingdom of Toro was cut off from Bunyoro, the great kingdom. On record that in the 200 years, Toro Kingdom have got so far, this is the 30th king.
Through leveraging on the heritage and historical sites in the kingdom, Cultural Minister Peter Rusoke says they will use the function to propagate socio-economic transformation.
So we are looking at how culture can assist this generation in 100 years to have achieved ABCD. That is the infrastructure and of course agriculture, science and technology, which is at a rapid speed, whereby we need also to equip the king's subjects to match with the current situation.
The kingdom is a predominant source of sorghum and cassava, which are the main raw materials for Uganda breweries, and it's on this backdrop that Uganda Breweries Limited has supported coronation activities with 30 million shillings.
It is a very significant part of the tradition of the celebration, and therefore we have made a modest contribution of 30 million shillings towards these events, so that the people of Toro can celebrate, especially on the Kasiki Day, they can celebrate with our products.
The partnership of these two entities has over the years boosted agricultural produce through encouraging the adoption of modern technology and proper farming practices.
So we are encouraging, because of our concern about the environment, and you have all heard about environmental, social governance, carbon emissions and so on. We're also encouraging what we're calling green agriculture.
The Omukama of Toro, Oyo Nyimba Kabamba Iguru Rukidi IV, was enthroned on the 11th of June 1994 at 3 years of age. Marion Awori, UBC News.
On the regional scene, let's get to know what is fueling inflation in Africa and what steps need to be taken to give African consumers a little relief.
Food inflation is a rising problem across many economies on the continent. Households in Nigeria, for example, are spending up to 22% more on average for food, and that was back in July compared to a year earlier. In South Africa, the food price inflation was nearly 10% in the same month. lowering food prices and making the continent a lot more food secure is a key focus of this year's edition of the Africa Green Revolution Forum. Here's what Rwanda's head of state, Paul Kagame, had to say earlier today.
The COVID pandemic, ongoing conflicts, and the global supply chain and energy crisis are all placing unusual strain on our food systems. A few lessons are clear from our past experiences. First, we are stronger together. The African Continental Free Trade Area is a good start with huge potential. We cannot have a coherent approach to agricultural transformation without a close integration with Africa's international trade policy.
Now the emergence, as you know, emergencies are dealt with also using the emergence funding. This one, we are already doing it, coordinated by the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Prime Minister. Already some food has been dispatched there, and we are also intervening to send more food to those food-stressed areas, beginning with the Karamoja. But as you know, the sustainable way of doing it is to increase food production, food storage, and also food distribution using the market system, as opposed to always dealing with the emergencies.
In our Sounds of Business, let's have a glimpse of what makes Sharjah the third most populous city in the United Arab Emirates tick. Sharjah is the capital of the Emirate Sharjah. It is a popular business hub in the UAE and was officially named by the World Health Organization as a WHO health city. Enjoy. Now, cases of famine are being reported in some parts of the country, and drought brought by climate change is partly to blame, but this could also be addressed through adoption of climate-smart agriculture. Perhaps it is also time to invest in agro-mechanization. Thank you for being a part of this week's episode of the Weekly Business Roundup. My name is Wadulo Arnold. Catch us on the next same time, same place. From the team, I must say good night.